Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am filming today the Eyeshadow Tag palette. So this video is a tag that was started by Samantha March and Allie Glines. So I've been following Allie for at least 2 years now. And I just recently started following Samantha March, and they came up with this tag. And I'll link their channels down below. I've also seen a couple of other YouTubers do this, and so this is what I've got. Let's start out with my newest eyeshadow palette. I didn't know if to start with the one that I've received the most recently or the one that I've paid for most recently. Because in terms of what I paid for most recently, it absolutely has to be these two Juvia's Place palettes. The Nubian and the Nubian 3 Coral. And the reason I bought both of them is because they were a bundle. And the bundle is usually $40, but I only paid $16 plus shipping, so it was $20 for 2 palettes. To me, that was a great price. The reason I got them is because of this palette in particular. This palette is all corally shades. They called to me. I don't know why, but peachy coral shades call my name and I will come running. So this seemed like a pretty interesting coral take because of these gray eyeshadows and this taupey gray up here. And I thought, you know what, that would be a great addition to my collection, and it's not too similar to the ColourPop Baby Got Peach palette. I am a big fan of Juvia's Place eyeshadow palettes. Before purchasing these two, I already had 3 of them in my collection. And this is the second one. I have not even swatched this palette because it is all neutral colors. I love neutral colors, but I have plenty of neutral palettes in my collection, and I just feel like busting into this one is just not gonna make me get enough use out of my current palettes. Moving on from there, let's see, what is the next one? Which one is my oldest palette? Now, do not, for any reason, leave negative comments about this, but I definitely understand why you would. My oldest palette is this. The Nudes by Maybelline. I bought it for $5 at, actually $4.99 at Walmart, because I believe it was getting discontinued back in 2013. Is it my favorite palette? No, but it is the first eyeshadow palette I ever bought. Before this, I only had single shadows. So this is my first ever palette, ever. And I still have it. It is 5 years old, but to be honest, I really don't care. Why? Actually, it's 8 years old? Yes, 8 years old. I really don't care. I don't feel like eyeshadows go bad, and I tend to disinfect my eyeshadow palettes and cream products very often so that they don't go bad in and of itself. So there you go. As you can see, I haven't gotten much use out of this because I don't feel like it's very easy to work with. I have other palettes with similar shades that I get better blendability out of, better color payoff. So in all honesty, this was definitely not worth it, but I'll actually talk about a palette that was really not worth the hype. Moving on to the next one. It is my most expensive palette. And I'm not a high-end kind of girl. If I can find it for under $25, under $30, I will definitely buy it. And this was a gift from my husband to me. So you could say that it is my most inexpensive palette since it was free, but it's actually, what, $49? It's the SemiSweet Chocolate Bar Palette. And this palette was a gift from my husband for my birthday. And I love it. I love the way it smells. I love a lot of things about it. I love how wearable it is. And this is why, and this is honestly my most expensive palette. I don't think I've ever paid over $50 for anything in my collection at all. And I highly doubt that I am ever going to pay more than $60 for anything in my collection, just because I'm spending my money, guys. And it's really hard to justify spending, you know, such a huge quantity of money in a palette, especially now that I have a little one. So, and this was actually a gift to me back in 2017. Yes, back in 2017. And it's one of my favorites. I love it. So cute. Let's see. Where are we going with this? Oh yes, my most affordable palette. Most affordable palette. I'm not sure if this counts as a palette, but I count it as a palette. It's actually a trio from Wet n Wild. It's from their Crystal Caverns collection. And I actually bought this fairly recently. I think back in August is when I bought it. And the reason I bought it is because it was on clearance at Walmart. And there you go. My favorite shadow out of, actually, all of these are my favorite. The reason I bought it is because they're all green shades. This one's like a green iridescent. You see the shift to it? It's white, it's green. It's beautiful. I love the way it looks. It looks gorgeous. This one is more of a like army green. And this one is a beautiful shimmer shade. And I just love it. I find them very wearable for green shades. So I really like it. And my most affordable palette. The only reason this was the most affordable palette compared to the E.L.F. $3 eyeshadow palette is because this one was on discount. It was, I think, like $2.50 or something like that. So I'm really happy I got to purchase this. Now let's move on to my everyday palette. And I will have to say that my everyday palette is this one. NYX Pretty in Paris, Love in Paris. So this one is my everyday palette because I can honestly, as you can see, I hit massive pan right there. But this is a beautiful inner corner highlight as well as an all over the eye shimmer. Even though these are shimmery satin shades, I can use them in the crease. That is, I have no problem with that. These two, or actually mostly this one, I can use as an eyeliner, and this one I can use it to deepen up the crease. So this is a beautiful eyeshadow palette that I get a lot of use out of. I love, love, love the blendability of the shadows. It's amazing. And this is the reason why I bought the next palette, actually, because I bought this one back in 2016, no, 2017. So I bought this one back in 2017-ish, I think, I don't know. And then after this one, I went and I bought this, which would answer which one is my most colorful palette. And this is honestly my most colorful palette. The reason it is the most colorful is because look at all the different colors in here. There's an orange, a deep, deep blue, a dark green, a foresty light lime green. There's a silver, a very prominent silver, a light light wash of pink, and then a very vibrant white shimmery color, as well as this purpley color right here. And the black is not just black, but it's also glittery. So if you can tell right there, there's a lot of glitter in there, and I really like it. I think the only shade out of this that I've never used is the black shadow. But aside from that, I mean, this is my most colorful palette, and I use this whenever I want to wear a pop of color with any of my other neutral palettes. There it is. Perfect. Moving on to my smallest palette, which is actually between this one, the Crystal Caverns from Wet n Wild, or the E.L.F. Bite Size Shadows. The reason I say it's tied between these two is because I know that this one only has 3 shadows, but this one has the same amount of grams in it. So they're literally the exact same content of powder is in both of these shadow palettes. So I would say that this is actually the smallest, because if you take one of those shades out, it would be less content than the Wet n Wild one. So that's why I'm gonna go with this one to break the tie, but they're actually really, really, really good shadows. Love them. Moving on to my biggest eyeshadow palette. Now here I have 3 different ones, but I don't really know which one would be the bigger one, because one is a eyeshadow eyeshadow and face palette, so it has a couple of highlights in it, and that's why I feel like it's actually bigger, and also the content in terms of grams. So because of that, my first thought was this one, the BH Carly Bible Deluxe Edition eyeshadow palette, and it has 21 eyeshadows and highlighters. This one is by far the biggest one in terms of size. Like, this does not fit where the rest of my eyeshadows fit. So as you can tell, there has lots of pretty colors. I love it. One of my favorites. And then I have these 2 from Morphe. I do have to say, I hardly ever use them. I feel like I made a rash decision by purchasing these, and honestly, I don't know if I recommend to anybody purchasing them. Aside from, you know, there's a couple of things that have come into light about Morphe being a little bit shady in terms of changing their formulas without letting the public know, and then advertising as if nothing has changed. So that's another thing why I don't think I can recommend a brand. But in and of itself, I feel like a lot of these shadows, aside from the shimmer shades, I think that a lot of them are very repetitive. They look the same on your eyelids. I feel like if you want to go with something that has a little bit more of a distinction between it, and you want neutrals, go with a smaller palette with more distinct separations in colors. Once you blend everything and blow it out, trust me, you can get one shadow to look like 3 different ones from this palette. Just my thoughts. Moving on to the palette with the best memory attached to it. I would have to say that it would be the Too Faced Chocolate Bar Palette, because it was the first makeup gift that my husband gave me in support of my makeup addiction, as well as it was the first birthday we celebrated together, having lived together, and it still smells like chocolate. So that's another thing that makes me really happy about it. And then on the day of my wedding, I wore this. I did my own makeup. So I used this palette to create my makeup look for my wedding day. And that always brings me really, really nice, fond memories. A palette that is worth the hype. Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam. Oh my goodness. These shadows blend beautifully. I love everything about this palette. It has one of the blackest blacks, and it just has a great everyday eye look that you can create, from very deep neutral tones to very wearable warm tones for every day. And I love it. I think it's amazing. If you have not gotten your hands on it, definitely it's a must try, at least for me. Whenever I saw the hype on it, I was like, I don't know. I mean, is it gonna be like modern renaissance where, you know, it's only gonna be wearable for certain times of day, maybe for more of a date night look? But no, with this palette, you can make an everyday office look, and with no fuss, no muss. You don't even have to know or be all that well into makeup in order to get great use out of this. So definitely 100% recommend. Now, a palette that was not worth the hype. The Modern Renaissance. For me, the Modern Renaissance is, I don't know, it just doesn't call my name. It doesn't call to me. All the pinky shades, the orange shades, I don't feel like I would get use of them. I also don't wear a lot of pink on my eyes. So just from that statement, this shadow, these and that, I will get no use out of it. So at least half the palette that I wouldn't get use out of, I think it's not worth it in my opinion. But that's just me. I know a lot of people love the Modern Renaissance. Well, my sister is very fond of that palette as well. So I can tell you, yes, I can see why a lot of people like it, but as well, it's not for me, since about half of the shades, it's not something I like to wear. Moving on to my favorite palette from a favorite brand. Juvia's Place is by far my number one eyeshadow palette brand. That is what they started doing. That is what they started out with. That is something, their formula, their shades. It's just something that to me, it's great because it's advertised for dark skinned people. So I feel like, at least when this brand started, there wasn't a lot of, hey, these eyeshadows will actually show up on dark skin tones. Back in the day, it was more of a, you really have to work for it in order to get it to show. And this brand just showed you that it doesn't have to be that way. You can get great color payoff at a great price, and it works on dark skinned people. So my favorite and my first purchase from them was this eyeshadow palette. The reason I fell in love with it is, look at these gold tones, okay? Look at those gold tones. This white looks somewhat silvery, and it works great in the inner corner, or if you want to make a halo eye. I don't wear pink eyeshadows, but this eyeshadow right here in this corner and this red eyeshadow down here, you can create some gorgeous looking smoky eyes with that pop of color right there, and it looks wonderful. This green shadow, it has like a red reflex to it. Holy guacamole, let me show you how nice it looks on your hand. So it looks like it has like a red base to it on top of that green. And on top is the green. So if you leave it like that, it looks more reddish green. And then like this, it looks more bluey green. I really like it. It's one of my favorites. It has a great crease shade right here. Has a beautiful black right up here. And then this orange can also be used to deepen up the crease. But you do have to have a light hand with it. Also, these shadows are beautifully blendable. So just if you've never given Juvia's Place a try, you should definitely try it. It's something I will probably forever recommend because from the new stuff that I got, A+, all of it. Now, my most used palette. This is probably going to come as a surprise because I've had it for such a long time. It's in such great condition, yet I haven't hit pan on any of the shadows. It's my chocolate bar palette, my SemiSweet chocolate bar palette. The only reason this is my most used palette is because this one is the one I go to when I want a caramel looking shade, or if I don't have anything to highlight my inner corner with, I go in here. If I want a one eyeshadow look, I can take any of these three eyeshadows and just go ham with them. If I want a little bit of glitter on my eyes, I can go in for this pink shadow, which you guys are probably gonna be like, but Kat, you just said that you don't like pink eyeshadow. It's not that it's this one. It's not that it's pink, because I don't know if you can see it, but right here, do you see the iridescence of that pink shadow? Does it look pink? To me, honestly, it looks more goldeny. So I definitely like the pink reflex of this eyeshadow. It's one of my favorites, but I do have to say that it gets everywhere. Just from that swatch, it got everywhere. So, and it also comes with a really nice black, bunch of great matte brown colors. It's the palette I go to if I need something that I cannot find in another palette, or if I'm using a palette for something. Let's say, where is it? I'm using my everyday palette, right? I should have all the colors in here, but I don't have a shimmery shade that gives me the iridescence that that pink gives me. So I will pop this, literally I will just go in, pop that shade all over the lid, even on top of the shadows that I have in here, and it looks great. If I need a really deep dark black, I can always go in here and use that deep dark black. If I need something more taupey and cool tone, but I don't want to wear a gray, I can hop in here and use that shade and that shade together perfectly fine. If I need something to highlight the brow bone, but I don't want something to be stark white, I can go in here and use that shade, which is a bit of more like a milk bone kind of color. So there you go. Those were my answers for the eyeshadow tag palette, or palette tag. Yes, my eyeshadow palette tags. I don't know what the name of the video is. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you liked today, if you want to see more, if you found this useful, entertaining, or learned something, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. Also, you can drop a comment down below letting me know how and what I can do to improve my content for you, as well as share my video. Share with your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, and your neighbor down the street. Anything helps me out to get more visibility and to get my channel to spread a little bit more. So thank you very much for anything and everything you do. Thank you for staying with me till the end of the video, and you have a great day. Stay safe. Lots of love. Bye.